Okay, I told you we are beginning a new series, and it is mathematics. So this year we are going to do mathematics, we are going to do C++, and we are going to do data structure and algorithm, right? So to begin the class of mathematics, I am going to teach you threshold. This is like a summary. So I'm just going to give you a meeting point between mathematics and physics, between law and matter. That is why I'm bringing this in. So what is a threshold? A threshold is the switching point of the transistor. And don't forget, your CPU is made up of billions of transistors. So what are we looking at? When we say motherboard, computer motherboard, right? On this motherboard, you have what? You have the memory, and then we have the CPU, right? Let's just focus on this. So as far as this is concerned, this is what? Matter. And in this pure state, we are dealing with what? Physics, right? That's what we are basically dealing with. All that happens here is what? You plug your computer system to electricity, and electricity will begin to flow. That is what is really happening at this point. So, but we've always been talking about 0 and 1, which are the things that are stored in the memory. At the deepest level, memory is nothing but charge or uncharged cells. That is, charged or uncharged what? Cells. That is purely what memory is. And these charges are what? Electrons. So the moment you plug your computer to a power source, electrons will begin to flow in a particular direction. And that flow will lead to what you call electric field. And that electric field will create what? A magnetic field. So the dance between these two, I've explained to you before, is known as what? Electromagnetic field. And if you look at it, it's just this. Rows and columns. So one is magnetic field. The other one is electrical field, right? Where both of them meet is this, is known as what? Electromagnetic field. So if the memory is just what? Charged and uncharged cells, what we are simply saying about 0 and 1 is that we are talking about electrical state. So what is electrical state? Electrical state is the physical condition of energy at a point in a circuit. So when we say 0, what we are saying, simply saying, is that the memory contains charges. When we does not contain charges. When we say 1, it means the memory contains charges. So at what point does this CPU read these charges to give us an output? That is the point we call threshold. So let me quickly explain, link that up for you to see. If we have something like this, and we have something like this, so we are having this in between. So this is a gate, right? This is gate 2. This is gate 1. This is gate 1. And when we say voltage, voltage, and we give a range. We say from 0.3 volt to what? 0.7 volt. Let's just take it that way. So this place is what? 0.3 volt, and this place is what? 0.7 volt, right? This is our transistor that is going to switch. So at this base, this part is what? The electricity that we have plugged to, while this part is the base that is going to receive instruction. So he breathed into man, and man became a living soul. That is the electricity. The instruction is inside your blood. So when you breathe in, the instruction is going to what? Manipulate this, your breath. And there is a device that are responsible for this. So your CPU is what? Billions of transistors. The arrangement of these transistors is what creates the logic. So when you say ALU, arithmetic logic unit, cache, register, these are simply the arrangement of the transistors inside the CPU. So execution is not what the CPU does. Execution is what happens when this network of transistors are energized at a given sequence. So when you say I write a code and I'm telling you about execution, what simply happens is how these transistors are energized based on what they see in the memory, whether there is a charge or there is no charge, whether it is 0 or 1. So how does the transistor switch? That is what we are looking at here. So we are having this 0.3 volt and 0.7 volt. Assuming you are climbing a mountain, there is a gate at the bottom, there is a gate at the top. So this is the gate at the bottom, this is the gate at the top. At what point do we say you are at the top of the mountain? When you've crossed this second gate, not at this first gate. So when you cross this second gate, we consider it as what? 1. Right? That is 1. Before you cross this gate, we consider it as 0. Now, what happens in between this place? So you're having 0.4, you're having 0.5, 0.6, then 0.7. So in engineering, this is considered as what? Noise. This is noise. Now, what happens here? This noise can oscillate this place to either 0 or 1, right? But no. There is a concept called the Smith trigger. So there is this what? Hysteresis. What is this saying? What this is simply saying is this. If you are coming from the bottom, which is 0, and you enter into this threshold, this is the threshold we are looking at now, the threshold, 0.3 to 0.7, and you enter into this place, you will remain 0. That is the state in which you are coming from, you are coming with. You will remain 0 until you cross the second gate. Then you become 1. Now, if peradventure something happened and you move into this noise realm, but you were 1, you are locked into this 1. You will remain 1 until you cross this boundary. So whether there is a fluctuation from this point to this place, from year to year, it is still 1. Whether there is a fluctuation from year to year or from year to year, it is still 0 if you are coming from this angle. So in religion, this is what we call grace. This gap between this place and this place is what we call mercy. Right? This threshold, this point of switching is what we call judgment. Right? This manifestation, which is the 1, is what we refer to as what? Truth. This instance, which is the substance of things hoped for, is what we consider as what? Faith. This assertion, that is propagation, the movement, is what we consider as what? Work. So what is grace? That bridge that sustains this faith to become what? Truth, which is what? Manifestation, what we want to see as one, that causes that transistor to switch. That is basically what they are talking about. So the threshold, which is this, is very, very important in terms of what? The transistor switching, which is what? The CPU going to the memory to pick the charges. So when the CPU goes to the memory and sees something, a content inside, if it is 0, it means it is on charge. If it is 1, it means charge. Now, how do you translate that 0 and 1 to what? To the electrical signal. Because that is what the CPU sees. The CPU does not see 0 and 1. What the CPU sees is what? The charge or uncharge. So if it is charge, it is interpreted as what? 1. If there is no charge, it is interpreted as what? 0. So this is the point in which the law meets matter. So why I'm teaching you this is because mathematics is actually dealing with this law. So we are going to go back to understand what this is. So 0 and 1 are just rules that tells you if you see the charge in the capacitor, we call it 1. If you don't see any charge in the capacitor, we call it 0. So that is the concept that we have been dealing with. So when we are saying bit, these are virtual. They are not real things. So at the real level of physics, we are dealing with charges, electronics, electricity, electric charges. That is what we are dealing with at the level of physics. But the rules that are going to control this transistor are coming from somewhere. That is the program that we have written, in which the operating system is going to enforce. So we are gradually going back now, and that will lead us to what? To what we want to teach in reality, which is what? Mathematics. Mathematics. So that is the beginning of my series. And that is what I want to explain to you. When you look at threshold, that switching point of the transistor and how it works. So that at what point does the transistor see? The transistor look at this point, and that is what you call clock edge. Clock edge. So you're having something of this nature. You're having something like this, right? This point is the clock edge. So once you hit any clock edge, it will lock. So this 0, it hit this place, it will lock it up until it gets to this point. Then it becomes 1. Then if it comes back, noise, there is noise, and it comes from this point to this point. In this realm, it will remain as 1 until it hits this next clock edge. That is what I'm saying. So till we see in the next class. Bye-bye.